Have you ever seen a man who has everything under control, the mindset, the presence, that serene confidence, and wondered, why is he still single? Here's the unexpected twist no one talks about. Sigma men choose solitude over fake love. They'd rather be alone with purpose than accompanied by someone who drains them. And that's exactly why women get confused. They desire him, chase him, but he doesn't budge. He doesn't flirt for attention, doesn't beg for validation, doesn't jump just because she bats her lashes. He's not avoiding relationships. He's avoiding wasting his time. Because once a Sigma tastes real freedom, the kind that comes from building a life on his own terms, he can't go back to being anyone's emotional puppet. And that, my friend, is the real reason Sigma men stay single longer than others. Not because they can't love, but because they've learned the cost of loving the wrong person. Stick around, because in this video, I'll break down the deep psychological truths, the hidden behaviors, and the ruthless clarity that leads Sigma men to walk alone until they find someone truly worth it. Let's dive in. 1. They don't need a relationship to feel complete, and that scares people. Most people fear being alone. You see it everywhere. People hopping from one relationship to another, clinging to someone just to avoid feeling empty. But Sigma men walk a different path. They don't fear solitude. In fact, they crave it. For them, it's not a punishment. It's fuel. They recharge in silence. Think more clearly without distractions. Don't use another person to fill a void. And that makes them practically invincible. Society operates under silent pressure. Find someone, settle down. Don't stay alone too long, or something's wrong with you. But Sigma men don't flinch. They don't play that game. Why? Because they don't see love as a trophy or a checklist item, but as something earned, not something that just happens because it's the right time. This mindset makes them dangerous in the best way. A Sigma doesn't need someone to hold his hand to live. He builds his world first. He chases purpose, not partners, and most people can't comprehend that. That energy confuses, and let's be real, women sense it. It's magnetic, but also intimidating, because deep down, many people need to be needed. But a Sigma doesn't wait for someone to complete him. If someone comes along, it's a bonus, not a requirement. That's rare. That's power. So, why do Sigmas stay single longer? Because they don't settle, don't chase, don't force connections just to feel better. Ironically, that's why they attract better partners long term. But it takes time, patience, self-trust, and the willingness to walk alone until the right soul walks beside them. 2. Their standards are ruthlessly high. No compromises just to be together. Here's the brutal truth. Most men lower their standards to get into a relationship. They ignore red flags, silence their gut, all to avoid being alone. Sigma men don't play that game. A Sigma will stay single for years if it means dodging emotional chaos. He's not impressed by curves, flattery, or convenience. He looks for depth, self-awareness, and emotional maturity. And yes, that's rare. Sigmas have an internal radar. They can spot fakeness from miles away, sense manipulation instantly, clock neediness in seconds, and have zero tolerance for mind games or drama. While other men fall for surface-level attraction, the Sigma stands back, observes patterns, listens more than he speaks, waits for the person behind the mask to reveal themselves. And if what he sees doesn't align with his values, he walks. No drama, no speeches. He just disappears. That's why people call Sigmas cold or distant. But it's not coldness, it's clarity. He knows who he is, knows what he wants, and refuses to bend for temporary warmth. Yes, he might stay single longer, but he avoids 99% of the toxic traps other men fall into. While others settle for good enough, the Sigma waits for extraordinary. And in today's world, that's almost revolutionary. 3. They're not afraid to walk away, even if everything looks perfect on paper. This is what baffles people about Sigma men. They could meet the perfect woman, beautiful, smart, independent, and still walk away. Why? Because something didn't fit. Maybe her energy was off. Maybe their vibes didn't resonate, or maybe she was amazing, just not for him. This is where Sigmas break the system. Most people cling to potential. They see a checklist of traits and convince themselves to stay. They fear starting over, fear regret, fear being alone again. But Sigmas don't fear. They trust their intuition over appearances. They'll walk away from almost perfect if it doesn't feel fully aligned. And that's terrifying because the average person spends their life settling for people, jobs, lives they don't even like. The Sigma won't. He knows the cost of settling, knows that compromising too much erodes a soul day by day. So he leaves early, before things get messy, before feelings entangle, before he's trapped in something that doesn't fit. Yes, that means staying single longer, but it also means when he does commit, it's real. No games, no doubts, no regrets. Because he waited until it felt right, not just acceptable. And that's the kind of love that actually lasts. For they see relationships as partnerships, not projects. Let's be brutally honest. Most people treat relationships like rescue missions. They see someone broken and think, I can fix them. Or worse, they morph themselves to fit what their partner wants. Sigma men don't do projects. They're not here to save anyone, and they sure as hell won't ask to be saved. What they want is simple but rare. A teammate, an equal, someone who adds to their world without trying to redesign it. That's why most connections fail before they start. People want to mold and be molded. They want to be needed more than known. But the Sigma isn't built for that codependent dance. He doesn't want someone who clings to him. He wants someone who can stand on their own, because he stands on his own. He's not looking to be worshipped, controlled, or coddled. He wants something mutual, conscious, balanced. And that wipes out 90% of the playing field. Here's how it goes. A woman meets a Sigma and thinks, he's so independent. Maybe I can get him to open up. She tries to change his habits. Text more, spend less time alone, be less himself. But the Sigma sees it coming. It's not that he won't open up. It's that he'll do it on his terms, without pressure, without games, without being told who to be. That's why he stays single longer. Not because he doesn't feel, not because he's emotionally unavailable, but because he won't enter a relationship where he has to trade authenticity for acceptance. He'd rather build alone than with someone who doesn't get him. Because the Sigma doesn't need noise, he needs resonance. And if you're not matching that energy, he'll walk away in peace completely without looking back. 5. Most mistake their independence for disinterest and ruin the connection themselves. Here's one of the strangest ironies about Sigma men. People are drawn to them like magnets, but reject them the second they don't act like everyone else. Here's how it plays out. A woman meets a Sigma. He's calm, secure, doesn't chase, doesn't perform. He just exists, comfortable in his skin. She's intrigued, senses that rare energy, that magnetism she can't quite place. But after a while, she starts doubting. He doesn't double text, doesn't call every night, disappears into his work, his projects, his silence. So she assumes, he's not that into me, but that's not true, not even close. The Sigma shows love differently. It's not flashy, not loud, not overcompensating. He values space, not distance. Listens more than he talks. And when he gives you his attention, it's because he chose to, not out of obligation. But here's the problem. Most people can't handle that level of calm. They're used to fireworks, not slow-burning embers, to loud, clingy attention, not quiet, real presence. So they panic, test him, complain, pull away thinking he wasn't serious. And the Sigma doesn't chase. He knows who he is, knows what he offers, and knows if someone mistakes peace for indifference, they're not ready for what he brings. So he lets them go and stays single, building, evolving, waiting not for someone perfect, but for someone aligned. Here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Being a Sigma man isn't easy. You don't get applause for fitting in. You don't get the instant comfort of the crowd. You don't chase love, attention, or approval. That's why most will misunderstand you. They'll say you're too distant, too cold, too self-focused. But what they'll never admit is how much they admire you for it. You don't settle for a spark. You wait for a fire that burns slow and real. You don't fake connection just to avoid being alone. You're not single because you're broken. You're single because you refuse to break to fit in. If this resonated with you, you know what to do. Subscribe. We move in silence and win with purpose. Stay dangerous. Stay focused. And I'll see you in the next video.